Radio.
Start here in a second, trying to get the phone to work, but this Bama Jamma shut off, and we'll try to get the camera working. I'll be with you in a minute.
It's the John Doe Radio Show. How much higher can you get?
Well, what the president said during the campaign, you'll be surprised to know, will be consistent with what we'll be doing here in law enforcement.
And now talking about legalizing marijuana and taxing marijuana to solve budget problems.
Prohibition doesn't work. Maybe after 71 years, it's time for a new approach.
We should be able to give our kids the message we think is appropriate.
A rational, safer choice.
Great celebration of freedom.
Legalize the possession of marijuana.
John Doe Radio. Live.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day, wherever it is you are. Got a new soundtrack for the JDR today. Woo-wee! I'm actually pretty stoked about this. Get down. I really wanted the camera today because I was gonna jam with you. We're gonna feel the beats, feel the flow, get it nice and groovy today. You know what I'm saying? But the goddamn phone won't turn on, won't stay on. I turn on the camera program, and the son of a bitch just shuts off. I think on the next step for the phone cam, what we're going to do with that is do a factory reset on that. Bish. Yo. What up, what up? Bike? Is there an issue? No, wait, we'll talk about that a little bit. So, I'm not that worried about it. It may seem like, oh my goodness, man. All right, I will, in the middle of my show, do this. I'm not that worried about it, really. Like, it doesn't concern me that much. It's just something that's I didn't even want it to put a blink in the beginning of this show, but it has. All right, hold on here. I'm sending you what you need. All right. We do have some cool things going on. I got you what you needed. Do have some cool things going on. May sound like a jumbled mess today. Fix up some audio a little bit, and also big shout out. I gotta send a massive shout out to the homie Patrick, who threw us on to these beats that we're gonna be using here on the show. I got sick and tired of uploading my stuff and just having it claimed by everybody and their mother. It's like, okay, I understand. I get the DMCA. I get it. And without whining or bitching about something and about it, it's just plain and simple the way it is. I got sick of it. I didn't want to upload anything else to YouTube or to Twitch and have it come back that your shiz was not monetized. Somebody else owned your product now. Fuck that shit. We've been doing this for way too long to have that be the case. We just haven't had the cash flow, you know, to kind of get something going that would give us our own library of all this good stuff. But as time unfolds and things get more free and awesome, then we're left with the situation as we are now, where we can find cool free stuff to use. So Patrick, you kick ass. Thank you very much for that. Let me check something here real quick, since we only got a few people watching. One person maybe. Let me double check the sound on here. Check 1 2. Let me double check the sound on here. Yep, check 1 2. Yeah, we're good. Okay. I also have my dashboard up in front of me. Something brand new that we're gonna have to get used to. Running 60-second ad breaks and stuff like that. I completely forgot about it after mentioning it yesterday. Not that it's that big of a deal, or that, you know, we're gonna be running, you know, crazy amount of ad breaks or anything. But it is something that's kind of here sitting in front of me, something I kind of got to deal with, and all this other good stuff. But I also have polls we can manage. So I ask a question like, will Kansas legalize? And, you know, like, the cool thing that everybody else has been stoked about lately on Twitch, the... Where is it? I got manage poll. Oh, yeah, and then start a prediction. So that's something else cool. What up, Chris? So cool things happening. It's today in stories what we're going to be talking about. Hold on here. I got... Let's get rid of that. Stories I got to look forward to today with you guys. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day, Chris. Yeah, giving the views. We need the views. Chris, by the way, yesterday when we were playing video games, bam! This Mamma Jamma dropped the Tier 3. The Tier 3. Which is pretty cool. So thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate that, my friend. As soon as we get that 15 subscriber action going, then we can get some cool little emotes and stuff like that going on. I want to see something here. I still need to balance out. Still need to balance out the audio just a little bit. Let's see here. Dynamics processor, gain. Why is that gain all the way up? Oh, yeah, 0 dB. Wait, okay, so I want this one right here. I'm going to bring this down to 4. Bring it down to 2. 1. Maybe down to... There we go. Still kind of loud. Weird. All right, there we go. That'll work. Whatever. Get everything dialed in here. Comfortable. There we go. Schumer working on merging cannabis bills. This from marijuanamoment.net. Our good friends Tom Anhale and crew over there. We're going to talk about these bills, an overview. Basically, the newsletter that went out with Marijuana Moment. Go over that. It's basically a review of what's happened here in the past week that we've talked about. This New Jersey obviously has a paywall here. Let's see. Disable privacy badge for this site. There we go. All right. New bill would allow you to grow your own marijuana as New Jersey legal weed debate continues. Gotta love those beautiful ad block. Give me another one, please. Please give me another one. Let me click over here real quick. That site didn't have that pop up when I first read it. Let's just go over New Jersey medical marijuana right now, because we've already been talking about this week. I don't need that article to discuss what's coming up to bat for New Jersey anyway. You all are in a freaking mess there. Like, it's absolutely... I don't know what the hell is going on. So, regulation in New Jersey... The newest thing being put on the plate is home grow. But the problem is you're in a situation where the New Jersey governor is probably going to veto anything that comes through New Jersey at this point. We're not seeing the type of movement that we would like to see in New Jersey. And when it comes down to comments and feedback from the governor and the arguments that have been had and the divide that is going on in New Jersey, it seems they're ways off from being able to get that shit done there. That was just kind of an op-ed piece in what was going on in New Jersey there. But we'll talk about it more here in the future. More and more looking like a possibility that just we're at a stall in New Jersey when it comes down to it. And that's unfortunate. New Jersey governor being one of the most powerful governors of any governor in the nation, no matter who's in a New Jersey governor seat. It's just that seat right there being a powerful seat. And how that plays into everything, I don't know what kind of politics are playing into him making the decisions. Frustrating situation there in New Jersey. Alabama could legalize medical marijuana under a bill filed by a Republican senator. Once again, files a bill to legalize medical marijuana, and advocates think 2021 might be the year that the state finally moves to allow patient access to cannabis. Interesting story because Alabama consistently been one of those states that we've seen be, you know, like that Bible Belt type of state that you wouldn't consider to be part of reform or to, even be included in reform. I think it was, what was the last state to, it had something to do with Mississippi. Damn it, I can't remember the exact thing. We won't go in that one. Let's make myself seem like more of a idiot I am this morning. We started the show completely focused, and now we're just absolutely unfocused as possible. Take a dab or a big draw from this vape. Well, the good thing is all the pieces are coming together. That even though there's chaos, we have 2 steps forward, 1 step back action going on, which is far better than anything that we've had in any of the previous year, 2 years. So that's a good thing. So feeling positive. Yesterday after the show in particular, oh man, I felt fantastic after yesterday's show. First show we did, being affiliate here on Twitch, which is pretty cool. Don't necessarily have to worry about, playing video games and the viewers and the numbers as much now. Before it was like you kind of had to hit this goal that was reachable, very reachable, in order to start monetizing, and we got that. And then not only that, just the show felt good yesterday. So it was the first time back that it felt that good afterwards, and I've actually felt like, oh yeah, at the end, and not like this doom for some reason. I have no clue why. I have no clue why that is the case, but the human mind is weird. This from Politico. Oh yeah, this is the one I was going to cover. That other article. That's why I brought this one up. This is from Politico, and talking about how New Jersey is just in a shit pile right now. Tennessee, decriminalization, casual exchange of under an ounce of marijuana. We talked about it yesterday, but we didn't get to it. I skipped right over it. And then Hawaii with psilocybin, psychedelic mushroom therapy under a new Senate bill. I think we'll get to that right off the bat here. Once again, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. Thank you for hanging out with us here on the John Doe Radio Show. Let's turn that down a little bit more. 2 days in a row we've got rolling, and Somebody smacked us with the sound alert. Thank you, Chris, for that sound alert. Thank you for hanging out with us here on the John Doe Radio Show. If you get a chance, please tell your friends about us. We will have some guests here coming up. We'll be talking about growing in seeds. I'm almost positive, is one of the first things here on JDR. And then the business side of things we'll probably get to. I have a few people that we've emailed and we've talked to, and hopefully we can get on the show very, very soon. So that'll be fun. If you would like to, below the player, right below where you're listening, too bad the camera's not on, below here, there is a Twitter link that you can click onto where you can follow the JDR Twitter. I will be more and more active on that. We're going to be talking about news, dissecting things there, giving my opinion, and then probably the main thing that you might care about, if none of those other things, to be reminded the show is starting. Paul, thank you for that follow. The show is starting and all that other shiz. And then if you would like to get in touch with me, you'd like to have conversation, there is also the Discord link. Let me shut off this fan over here. I just realized I forgot. We don't need it to get hotter in here than it already is. There's also a Discord link there below where you can click on and join that. If you've got anything you want to throw to me, send me a private message, whatever. Facebook, not the best place to get a hold of me anymore. Twitter's a pain in the ass. Sometimes I don't notice the messages on there either. So, sweet. All right, sweet. Hawaii could legalize the use of psychedelic mushrooms for therapy under a newly filed bill in the state legislature. The measure, if approved, would direct the State Department of Health to establish designated treatment centers for therapeutic administration of psilocybin and psilocin, two psychoactive substances produced by certain fungi. Psilocybin is made into psilocin in your body. If I think I'm correct on that. Could be wrong. But it's converted into psilocin, and then that's layman's terms. That's the trip. It would also remove 2 compounds from the state's list of Schedule 1 controlled substances and create a 7-person psilocybin review panel to assess the impacts of the policy change. Few other specifics are provided in the bill. Senate Bill 738, introduced in the state Senate on Friday. It doesn't specify who would qualify for the therapy, for example, or how precisely the drugs would remain federally illegal would be administered. The legislation simply says that the Department of Health shall adopt rules in accordance with state law. The new legislation comes less than a year after Hawaii lawmakers introduced bills to begin studying the therapeutic use of psychedelic mushrooms with the goal of eventually legalizing them, though those measures did not advance. Yeah, I always fark up this word even though I know it. Entheogens, including other substances like come on, man. Come on. Ayahuasca and ibogaine have emerged as promising treatment for severe depression, anxiety, and other conditions, although research remains ongoing. Can I take ayahuasca to not stumble over words? I bet you if I were to take ayahuasca, or like the beginning of a good mushroom trip, we would be speaking fluently and in complete and solid terms, having no issue moving forward with our sentences or coming up with the words that everyday people use and John Doe can't think of at the time he needs them. Like, come on, man. Give me a goddamn break. In November, voters in Oregon approved a ballot measure to legalize psilocybin therapy that the state is now in the process of implementing. The new Hawaii bill was introduced by Senators Stanley Chang, Laura Clint Ocasio, Les Ihara Jr. Oh, man, they just keep getting harder. I don't know how to say this person's last name. Malay Shimabukuro. Yeah, I mean, It wasn't horrible for the first time attempt. We actually didn't do too bad there. Success! But this is pretty cool. We also see in Oregon. Let me flip over here real quick. Let me bring up this story. And you spell it right. I want to bring up this Oregon story of decriminalizing drugs. I gotta find the right one though. Man, there's a few news stories that come out in the last hour. Let's see if this one will work. KIDO.talkradio.com. How new Oregon laws impact you. Wrong capture. There we go. So we see in Oregon, we've seen in Oakland, we've seen in Denver, and specifically in Oakland and in Denver, the legalization or decriminalization of psychedelic drugs, decriminalization of mushrooms, specifically. But then Oregon went a step further and basically decriminalized all drugs. Let's read this. Oregon may only be a few miles down the road, blah, 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 blah. Their world difference. Legalized drugs. Well, not all drugs, but if you're caught with small amounts of heroin, LSD, or something else, you won't go to jail. The state will fine you $100 and send you to treatment. Oregonian lawmakers say this does not legalize the drugs. Then again, they legalized weed and mushrooms. It's not necessarily 100% true. Oregon will not require you to provide legal identification, get a driver's license, or state ID. Oh, wait. This is a combination of a bunch of rules and laws and stuff. Anyway, we're seeing this trend more and more, and it's just the trend of ending of drug war, reforming of drug sentencing and punishment rules in roundabout ways, creative ways, I guess you could say. We could do these things in simple terms across the board, but it's been too difficult to get there. So we have these roundabout ways of getting to decriminalizing drugs and changing the way lessening punishments for these drugs. And then in that process, there's some wacky things sometimes that make it in that are, maybe out of place, seemingly out of place, than they should be, like mushroom legalization in Denver, or legalization, quote unquote, decrim, I should say, of all drugs in Oregon. Just the longer these things go on, the longer that radical reform goes on, and it doesn't become something that's a roadmap and a rubber stamp in each state that, okay, this is exactly what we do. It's not something that's fought. You're going to have these outliers that come into play and are, something that affect the whole mix. Just how shiz works. A resolution to amend the Idaho Constitution in a way that would prevent marijuana or any other drugs from being legalized in the state advanced through the Senate committee on Friday, creating complications for activists who are seeking to put cannabis reform measures on the 2022 ballot. The Senate State Affairs Committee approved the resolution along party lines with a 6-2 vote, moving it to the full chamber for consideration. It stipulates that the production, manufacture, transportation, sale, delivery, dispensing, distribution, possession, or use of a psychoactive drug shall not be permitted in the state of Idaho. It would make an exception for substances that are approved by the FDA, but would effectively kneecap efforts to establish a medical cannabis program that looks anything like those implemented in other legal states. Part of the complication is that should the legislature approve the resolution, sponsored by Senator Scott Grow, Republican, it would put a constitutional initiative on the state's 2022 ballot that would take precedence over any statutory legalization measure that appears alongside it. regardless of the margin that any measure ultimately gets approved by. You know, just like we're watching with the stock situation that's been going on. Sorry, I probably shouldn't do that in your ear, but, you know, Vape Nation shit. You know, we're watching with the stock situation go on. These things can be rather confusing to the everyday person, even if you're somewhat plugged into politics. You know, I don't know how stocks work. I don't know what the hell a short squeeze was. I think of myself as a relatively smart guy. May not be the smartest guy in the entire world, but I feel like in weird kind of ways, I have this like Asperger smartness to myself, you know? Sometimes the understanding and dive into a topic for me is not that hard. So I don't know where I'm going with this. Ultimately, is like, it takes some effort sometimes to look into these things and learn them. But for some reason, when it comes down to it, law for me, or legislation and inferring what it means, etc., I should have been a lawyer, really, when it comes down to it. I would have lost my law license very early and would have been disbarred, guaranteed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Maybe if I went into law now, I might be safe after learning the things I've learned. Probably have to get that felony weed thing pulled off the record, though, so we might have an issue with that. But, you know, it takes some time to dig into it and kind of learn. It probably has to do with, you know, history of spending time with lawmakers, etc., blah, 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 blah. But, see, even this stuff, like, from state to state, oy, it just changes so much, and it's so confusing. The best thing that you can do is just learn what's going on in your state and learn how your state operates and how you can best add a wrench into the whole thing. But this sucks for Idaho. This would be something, I know here in Colorado, a constitutional initiative to be overturned is ridiculously hard. You know, it's something that it's going to take an incredible extreme effort to change, something that would have to have a pretty extreme passion behind, which cannabis legalization could be that. Just in case they did pass this, I would think that legalization, with the momentum that we do have going across the nation, could be something that would overcome a constitutional initiative if it were to get put into place. But this and other we don't want to see that. Activists are dealing with this development as they work to collect signatures on an initiative to legalize medical cannabis, while a separate group is preparing to place adult use legalization before voters. And all the while having to deal with COVID at this time too, which is extremely unfortunate in itself, in everything that COVID has to deal with. Everything in our everyday life, but having a law changed and petitioning at a time like this, these people are heroes. I mean, these are the people that these people separated themselves from the rest, man. These are true activists trying to get shit done with literally, maybe not literally, a brick wall built right in front of them that they're having to tear down with picks and shovels. Figuratively, a brick wall built in front of them. It's actually a pretty incredible thing that there is any bit of reform going on right now, that COVID is going on. Committee-approved resolution says that the normalization of illicit drug use is having a profound negative impact on Idaho citizens, and therefore it is reasonable and necessary to enact the constitutional change. The problem is, in this situation, they don't have any proof, or they don't give any backing for this statement, because there is none. They don't have an iota bit of proof to back anything like this up, all right? The only thing that they can come to the table with are cherry-picked studies that are not recognized on a scientific level as a whole and are not backed up. These cherry-picked studies, you can't go and back them up with another study and say, look, this data is matched up. It's just, it's that. It's cherry-picked data from multiple studies that was not focused on the data that anti-cannabis people are looking for, so the data is not even valid as it is. And some of these studies are negligible as it is. So fear and false science not good enough to come to the table with and battle anymore. That's just not the case. The problem is we still have that fear factor built in across the nation and in states, especially like Idaho. Russ Belville, who formerly did the Normal podcast, and we've butted heads with quite a bit here on the JDR. The dude is an amazing mind. Like, him and crunching numbers, his ability to analyze shit is just... I've not worked with or seen a lot of people that could do what he does at the level he does. So kudos there. Now, on a personal level, it's a little different thing. You'd probably say the same thing about me on a personal level, too. But, you know, we have Russ there, which I think Russ himself is a one-man army. But in order for you to fight something like this, a constitutional initiative that would ban any type of legalization, that's a huge fight. It's going to take more than a one-man army to overcome. Just the fact that it's something that's floated and flying freely and hasn't been knocked down yet is proof in itself that it has enough, that Idaho has enough fear factor in them to roll this forward. Advocates, the request is anything but reasonable and is intended to undermine the democratic process, misleading voters by neglecting to directly explain how the measure would impact medical cannabis reform efforts and instead referring broadly to psychoactive drugs. Here's the language of the constitutional amendment. Shall Article 3 of the Constitution of the State of Idaho be amended by the addition of new Section 30 to provide that the production, manufacture, transportation, sale, delivery, dispensing, distribution, possession, use of certain psychoactive drugs shall not be lawful in the state of Idaho unless such drugs are approved by the FDA, lawfully prescribed, and lawfully dispensed. So here we get into the kind of proof that I was talking with you guys about with rescheduling to Schedule 2. Because that's where this is. And pharmaceutical category is where we're talking right here. So basically, unless the drug is approved by the FDA for pharmaceutical use to be dispensed by a pharmacy, prescribed by a doctor, 100%, this is clear as it can get right here. And that's why the scary part of Schedule 2 is so scary, is because it's clear. There is a direct line of what you are supposed to follow and how it happens. And the challenge to it is null and void. It's not going to happen. There are challenges that go on with groups and money that is far bigger than anything we can imagine. And it is delayed for years and years and years and years to be looked at. I think there was like a request from like, I could be pulling this out of my yin yang, 94 to 2006. Oh man, I can't remember the exact numbers of what it was for one particular review for cannabis to the FDA for scheduling, etc. It's just such an astronomical hurdle for people to overcome with the feds. We can't take it on. Now with Schedule 1, we've already developed our own system in states to bypass this, our own testing ground, and then past Schedule 1, you know, we don't, past Schedule 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, down the line, you don't have to have pharmaceuticals involved with that, 3, 4, 5. So it's less of a worry in that situation. We can develop our own precedents and framework in those. Schedule 2, no. Not happening. Have we beat a dead horse with that yet? Have we made it clear that this is where they're going for to kick us in the balls? If approved, that would mean that Kind Idaho's medical cannabis legalization measure and another initiative in the works to legalize for recreational purposes would be rendered null and void regardless of whether a majority of Idahoans pass either of them. So where this comes down to and why this law would make everything else null and void is because this law is a superseding law. The way that this is worded and the way this is presented is all and mighty and would knock out this. This presents no challenge to this, is the problem. So that's a huge issue for people in Idaho. This is a really shitty, scary thing. Probably the shittiest thing that we've seen happen in almost any state, really. I can't think of a worse situation for legalization in any state that's developed since the beginning of motherfucking time. One of my favorite memes. The astronaut. You know how many times? You know how many people been around the North Pole? How many times I've been banned and been timed out in Sequisha's chat? I come back with the number I've been timed out around. Anyway, it's funny when I type it out to me. We know when I repeat these things out loud, they're not funny, and I realize that. This is obviously making big news because when I went to go look through the news a minute ago, this was popping up everywhere. So we will follow this and the other things that are happening in Idaho. Goddamn, CBD products can be purchased in Idaho. Oh wait, that's everywhere. Let me make sure I do not click on anything I'm not supposed to here. Let's go back to this. Once again, thank you for hanging out with us here on the JDR. Apologies, the camera didn't work today. I went to go flip on the camera 3 times, and that son of a... The camera is my phone. And for some reason, I don't know what it is. I think I updated something, and now the RAM, whatever, the little gerbils inside the phone quit. They just like, fuck it, we ain't doing this no more. That's all right, though. The 720p made me look worse than I already did anyway. But I would love to wave to you, say hi, and kind of sit side by side with you, not just have you stare at this webpage. But I do appreciate you guys. If you get a chance, make sure you give us a follow right above. It'll let you know when we're going live on JDR. You can also follow our Discord and our Twitter down below. Also, big thanks to Marijuana Moment for all the up-to-date cannabis news that we can ingest. Let's do this one. I got everything all screwed up. All right, Alabama. Once again, a Republican senator in Alabama has filed a bill to legalize medical marijuana, and advocates think 2021 might be the year that the state finally moves to allow patient access to cannabis. Senator Tim Melson, a Republican, introduced the legislation which would allow people with qualifying conditions to access cannabis for therapeutic reasons. He's the same lawmaker who sponsored a bill that was approved by the Senate last year, but which later died without a House vote amid the coronavirus pandemic. The coronavirus pandemic killed off quite a few progressive bills. Alabama was definitely looking pretty good. So let's finish this story. Under the new proposal, an 11-member Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission would be established to implement regulations and oversee licensing. To qualify for the program, patients would have to be diagnosed with one of 20 conditions, including anxiety, sleep disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, and intractable pain. Intractable pain. That one being added to the list that's a good part. These seem like a pretty normal list of medical marijuana conditions to be included. Seems like a pretty wide list that most people in most states that have had a successful program and have built up quite, a hefty list of cannabis patients, which is key sometimes to making the system work, and then also hugely key in making a retail system work, is having enough people be able to buy the products that are actually out in stores. We saw that in Illinois, Chicago, where there was like no cannabis patients to be able to serve even the limited amount of dispensaries that were open in that state. Almost no product available in return for all that too, because there's just no ability for cannabis companies to be able to turn over all that product, etc., blah 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 blah, and advance their business and advance the system. I got to get the other 2 discs thrown in here that I downloaded yesterday or today. To qualify for the program, we already read that. One problematic provision for the advocate's perspective is that for patients with chronic or intractable pain, they could only be recommended medical marijuana in cases where conventional therapeutic intervention and opiate therapy is contradicted or has proved ineffective. That is a bummer in the intractable. See, I knew with Alabama there has to be some sort of catch with them having the open pain thing. For every other state, when it comes down to trying to close off the medical cannabis system and close off patient numbers, some of the largest numbers are those who suffer, severe pain, constant severe pain that, cannot be fixed or something that you have to deal with all the time. It's been argued that there are way too many young people on that list, way too many young people that are suffering from this severe pain. But then again, we go to the patient versus the patient-doctor relationship that they have, and why lawmakers or why fear should play a part in the patient-doctor relationship. And then the drug warriors will argue that that relationship is tainted, and there's no real relationship in a lot of instances where cannabis patients go to clinics. They see a person for 5-10 minutes. They're assigned medical marijuana license and then gone. It's not exactly that way, okay? You have to have patient records with you. You have to prove that you have this condition. And if your doctor isn't necessarily up on what cannabis can do, and somebody else is a doctor in full standing, can look at your charts, can say, okay, this is not going to do you any harm, we might as well let you use this in a legal way, period. Like, it's, you can't prove a harm on it, so it sucks. If you can find a way to get there, get there. And if it's through the doctor system, patient-doctor relationship system, there's not a lot, I think, that the scared soccer moms and the NASCAR dads should say about that. You shouldn't have a word in that, period. And that's what this is. Nope. You got to go through the opiate therapy and get farked up on that shiz, or go through any other conventional therapy and get farked up on that shiz. When the key is, most of the time with these patients, they're both using cannabis. They're not just ditching opiates a lot of the time. Some of them are. And you have those stories that are told about cannabis patients completely getting rid of opiates. But I think for a lot of people that are using conventional therapeutic intervention or opiates, etc., blah, 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 they're also using cannabis on top of that. Maybe it makes them get through the day a little bit easier, or because they're having to take these opiates, their stomach is hurt. So the cannabis helps settle down their stomach a little bit so they can eat and actually function normally the rest of the day. There's multiple, there's so, because cannabis affects every person differently, there's so many different positives that can be a part of that. You speaking to a medical professional openly and them saying, okay, I hear that, that's good. I can't think of anything bad that could really come from that, you know? Let them have it. Patients would be allowed to possess and purchase up to 70 daily dosages of medical cannabis. The commission would determine what the limit is, but could not exceed 75 milligrams per dose. Oh, God. Oh, God. Now we get into limits. This is dead. This bill is dead. The bill, which has been referred to the Senate Judiciary Committee, prohibits raw cannabis smoking. Oh, it's dead. It's dead. This is the same thing we did see in Alabama before, now that I think of it. There were some things that were good, and then now that I think of it, this was one thing that we got, I think, thrown out, though. Right? Before the bill got thrown out, this might have been something that was thrown out, and or they were working on being tossed out. Prohibits rock, basically, you would just have to have lozenges, capsules, oils, suppositories, topical patches. It's not going to work. The same kind of bullshit that Illinois kind of went through. Oregon, Washington tried to float shit like this. None of it worked. Not a single bit of it worked. Not a single state is operating positively with anything remotely close to limits like this in place. It also calls for a 9% gross proceeds tax on medical marijuana sales after covering implementation costs. 60% of revenue would go to the state's general fund, and 30% would go to research into medical potential for cannabis. Well, here's the thing: is you're not going to have any revenue, not going to have any funds to be able to put towards that stuff because this is a failed program. Period. As is delivered. DOA, dead on arrival. Patients, caregivers, and medical cannabis businesses would receive legal protections under the proposal, preventing them from being penalized for activities authorized by the state. For physicians to be able to recommend cannabis to patients, they would have to complete a 4-hour continuing education course and pass an exam. The course would cost upwards of $500, and the doctors would also be required to take refresher classes every 2 years. What's in this course? Like, what are you telling? Is it ran by medical professionals, solely by medical professionals, not including some sort of agenda? Maybe, but I highly doubt that is the case. There's got to be some sort of limitation thing in here that if you do this, then you're going to lose your license. So don't do that. Another DOA provision. While it's encouraging to see Alabama seriously consider medical cannabis legislation, we recommend a number of revisions to Senate Bill 46 to better serve patients. Karen O'Keefe, Director of State Policies for the Marijuana Policy Project, told Marijuana Moment. For example, patients should not be steered to far more dangerous opiates first, as the bill currently does, she said. In addition, the burden on doctors should be reduced to avoid dramatically depressing participation and leaving large numbers of patients behind. Exactly. I've seen all this before. Thinking you can get this passed through John Doe without me seeing what he's doing. That ain't happening. Fool me once. Shame on you. You fooled me twice. Well, you might fool me again. It is 4:20 in the Mile High, ladies and gentlemen. We randomly hit that number. I saw it down here in the corner. It's like the 11:11 time that you get to hit and feel the juju from everybody else in the world that is feeling the 11:11 juju time. Just take a deep breath with me. If it so happens to have cannabis in it, I'm sorry. I can be a nerd. Although I do have to use the restroom, so we will be right back, ladies and gentlemen. It's 32 degrees in Blounteville right now. It's gonna be a cool evening. 47 degrees, 22 at night. Saturday, we've got partly cloudy with 47. 36 is the low overnight, and Sunday, same thing. Partly cloudy with 55 as a high, 36 as a low. In ways I miss doing real radio and stuff like that. It was fun. It was very fun. You know what was a pain in the ass for me, though? Was reading off the lotto numbers. The ADHD in me and slow didn't really work together at the time, especially when I was like younger, way younger, early 20s. So like multiple times people would call in and be like, bro, can you read the damn lotto numbers slower? And then my boss came in and said one time, like, you gotta take a breath in between each one of these lotto numbers. We're gonna have a problem here. All right, anyway, I'll be right back. You're checking out the JDR. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Hopefully this becomes your cannabis news home on Twitch. We would love it. In the future, we're going to try and hit that off early morning. Or I've found the early morning or later afternoon is what's working. So we'll see what happens. I'll be right back. I gotta use the potty. Back at you. All right. Let's take a quick dab before we move on today. We got a couple more stories to cover here. Just past the hour point here on the JDR. Make sure you give us that follow if you haven't. Again, big thanks to Paul. Thank you for that follow. Appreciate you. Chris, again for that tier 3 Mamma Jamma and Telly yesterday. Those gifts. If you would like, you can also subscribe to the JDR up above. Support us here in what we do. For only $5.99 a month. Could be different in other countries. JDR gets half. Twitch gets half. Also, make sure you check out Get Seeds right here. Get Seeds right here. Place where you can get seeds right here. Mike, if you're listening, drop that Discord link just so we can get in the habit of doing it. I'm sure everybody in here is already in there. Also, I did not hit a 60-second ad break. Forgot I needed to do that. Hold on a second. We're going to wait 60 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. See if we can avoid people coming in to the channel, coming in and just dropping off, because sometimes I see the number pop up and then it goes right back down. I don't want that to be people coming in to see the show. What we got here? Let's do this question. Will we legalize, not decrim, within the next 4 years? Wait, let's go ahead and do... Yeah. Will we legalize, not decrim, within the next 4 years? Yes or no? Duration? Set it for 5. Let's set it for 10 minutes, just in case anybody else comes in. Channel points now available. Nope. Start poll. Did I do it right? I think I did it right. Nice. Yeah, we got that cool poll thing now that we've unlocked the affiliate. And then also I could do the predictions, which is another cool thing. Let's get to this Hawaii story. Or Tennessee story. I was still thinking about mushrooms. A Tennessee state representative is seeking a decrim possession and the casual exchange of small amounts of marijuana. State Rep London Lamar is sponsoring House Bill 413, which was submitted for consideration this past Tuesday. Under the bill, it would be legal for a person to have less than an ounce of marijuana in their possession. The bill will also allow for casual exchange of small amounts of marijuana as long as there is no transaction taking place. Casual exchange would not include any type of payment, coupon, gift card, or token which is otherwise used to purchase merchandise or goods. Remuneration. We learned that sitting in a lawyer's office, Spike and I, with a lawyer sitting next to us, telling us things that were okay and not okay. For instance, Craigslist listings of cannabis sales that you are just buying the bag, or maybe you bought a candy bar and a bag of cannabis came with it. That's not legal, people. As much as we would like it to be legal, it's not legal. There we go. If the bill made it through committee and passed both chambers of the assembly, it would go into effect July 1st, 2021. So Tennessee jumping on the mix. I don't have an idea of how of if this actually will pass or if it's something that should die right away or not. So I'll look into that a little bit more. All right, we talked about Alabama. Let's go through this. With February 8th deadline looming, New Jersey lawmakers and Governor Phil Murphy aren't anywhere close to a final agreement to legalize cannabis after 2 previous deals fell through. Senate President Steve Sweeney and Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin don't want Murphy to veto legalization and decrim bills that have been sitting on his desk since mid-December. And as I at the beginning of the show pulled up this article that was an op-ed piece. That op-ed piece was 100% plugged in with, yes, it's probably going to be vetoed. What was that Politico article? Did we read? Jeez. Today just one of them days. Did I? Anyway, whatever. Senate President Steve Sweeney, blah, blah, blah. If the Assembly holds a quorum as scheduled on February 8th, Murphy will be forced to either sign the legislation, let it become law without his signature, or veto it. The latter option is almost certainly the one he'll take. Yep. Unfortunate. The assembly, is it weird too that like sometimes I'm like distracted this past week by thinking about glass artists to invite on the show and like thinking about a flame in front of me and melting glass. I haven't had that feeling or that pull for a very long time. Yeah, it's weird. It's pretty cool though. I really, really, really can't wait to bring some video and some interviews of glass artists. The only problem we're going to run into is we have video in a glass artist shop. We might only be able to show you video at the same time. We won't be able to talk at the same time with them. That shit's loud. So I got to figure out how to produce this. You know, invite, you know, Cowboy or whoever it is on the show and have them set up, you know, their Zoom setup, and we plug into Discord, hook that in, and then the mic situation. But it's exciting to think about. The Assembly Black Caucus on Monday held a conference call with administration officials, including Diane Hunu, I think that's how you say her name, chair of the new Cannabis Regulatory Commission, to try and inch towards a compromise. An earlier bill negotiated over the winter holidays fell apart when two black state senators, Ronald Rice, who's repeatedly fought legalization measures, and Nia Gill, both Democrats, raised objections to penalties for children caught with the drug. This is legit. Monday's discussion did little to advance a deal. One policy solution put forward by Assembly member Shavonda Sumter that would have made minors subject to schoolhouse adjustments, which was depicted as an intervention coordinated by law enforcement, school guidance counselors, and principals, was met with cold reception. Yeah, that sounds funky. I would encourage the governor to sign the two bills on his desk, said Assembly member Jamal Hawley, who told Politico on Tuesday that he opposed the schoolhouse adjustments as well as previous policy solutions advanced by the governor's office. We can continue to have robust discussions on cleanup and whatever recommendations come from the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. The encouragement I have is we're still talking, said Sumter, vice chair of the Legislative Black Caucus. So, if this Black Caucus has concerns with sentencing, it's something we should probably listen to. You know, one of the main things that we're looking for in cannabis reform and changing laws is social equity and fixing some of the wrongs that we've continuously gone towards for decades on that path. So it's very important. If we're putting into place, just like the New York felony for quote-unquote dealing to a minor, if we're dealing with situations like that where they're adding penalties to the mix and they're still giving law enforcement and the man, the powers that be, teeth to be able to bite into the same damn path, to jump into this train, the same damn train, to stay on course here. That same rail that we've been following for decades now, we can't allow it. It can't happen. We cannot include these options into these bills because they are going to leave the same results as they did before. And in order to, for the sake of time and for the sake of change, we've gone far too long not having these type of changes. And to put a Band-Aid fix into place, which is pretty much what's happening everywhere. I'm calling out everyone on this because every state is guilty of this. We haven't gone far enough when it comes to drug reform. Talked about yesterday, comes down to letting people out of jail in some instances. There are plenty of people out there who have soul cannabis crimes, whether they be possession or maybe a singular sales or distribution charge, and they're sitting in prison in places that have reformed laws. We need to get it done federally. You know, it's just extending the problem out more and more. That's one issue. You know, we change laws and we not have felonies on the books. Eventually, those people get out of jail, and that's a horrible way to look at it. But that's how everybody else sees it. They see it that they did their time, did their crime at the time. Now they're in jail. It's not a top priority for people in that situation, even if they ended up in jail under fucked up circumstances in the first place. That means nothing to some of these people. Because even the situation now and the change to them, you know, it's just a play in politics and bullshit. But continuing on that play and that bullshit is rough, and it's rough to see. And in almost every state, we're at that point. We're still at that point where people are still going to suffer. People are still going through more bullshit and their civil rights being wronged. I'm ranting too much here. I'm running out of words. Yeah, it's frustrating. But then these bills that we've seen before that would do these type of things have been crushed. So, and the problem is we're left with these states now, you know, like Alabama, New York, New Jersey, you know, Mississippi, Louisiana. Jesus criminy. We're left with these states, Texas even, where the battle, these are not really the states we want to have these battles in and try and set precedents for a higher standard of reform, as far as, you know, like justice reform, letting people out of jail, better laws, get those laws having teeth. These are not the places we should be. Like, it's not surprising we're seeing this, okay? Like, I'm not saying that it should be happening in these states, because we've already seen the states that, you know, have been progressive, move towards reform, do the reform thing. And, you know, those reforms now and some of those law changes in perspective look kind of tame in comparison of what we could get done today if we were to approach it. If say there was another Colorado and for some reason they were just asleep at the wheel until now, and we were like, oh, hey, sorry, we just woke up, we want to make these changes now. A lot of this stuff would be like, it's a no-brainer, and it would be easy to get done. So I wish we could go back and do that. And we've added consistently to Colorado, California, other states, not making possession a felony here in Colorado for any drug, no jail time for any drug. But the problem is when it comes down to oversight, there's not a lot of people that are smart enough, invested enough, have the money to follow these things. A lot of the people that we had here in Colorado to do those sort of things have moved on to other states. Yeah, so it's been slow. It's been slow. Ripping treatment and drugs out of the hands of punishment and law enforcement is ultimately what I'm trying to say here that we need to get to. Until we get to that, we're still digging in the same hole in ways. Maybe digging sideways or slightly sideways and then up. But then it stalls out. I drove everybody away with my rant there. All right, let's finish up this one right here, and then we'll call it for the day. Monday's discussion did little to advance a deal. One policy solution put forward by Assembly member Shavonda Sumter that would have minors. We already read that. This is what happens when I don't highlight and then scroll up and down crazily in a rant. Why it matters. Failure to break new ground on Monday increases the likelihood Murphy will conditionally veto both decrim and legalization members. An administration official said the governor was particularly swayed by a recent letter that ran in the Star Ledger from Black and Latino faith leaders who oppose the bills as currently written. Kevin McCardle, a spokesman for Coughlin, said legislative leaders and the governor continue to engage on the legislation. Some more blah, blah, blah. Legislation and decrim bills on Murphy's desk would set inconsistent penalties for underage possession of the drug. Under the legalization bill, those 21 and younger caught with less than an ounce of cannabis, the formal term for products sold through a legal marketplace, could be charged with a petty disorderly persons offense, but the decrim bill removed penalties for those under 21 caught possessing marijuana. The term would only apply to illicit products. That legalizes underage possession of the drug, according to the Murphy administration. So those who are caught with less than an ounce of cannabis could be charged with a petty offense. So they would get a petty offense, and then the penalties would be removed completely for illegal. That is kind of weird. I will vote yes, but I mean, it's not that bad. I will vote yes on legislation that continues. That's actually, I mean, it's weird how they define these two things, but it's so silly. Like, this try and discourage young people from having someone go and buy at the dispensary. But if you remove the packaging and then they have it, it's not illegal. It's kind of weird. I'm not saying they should be punished for anything, but that's weird. I will vote yes on any legislation that continues the school to prison pipeline or implements a modern day stop and frisk on our children, Gill said in a statement Monday. We have seen the cost of these interactions and how they often turn dangerous or fatal. Senate leaders have characterized the decrim language as deliberate, arguing it would discourage police interactions with the public, particularly young minorities who are disproportionately arrested and prosecuted under the state's current drug laws. The governor's office had actively negotiated with lawmakers on both bills and hadn't raised objections until after the legislation reached his desk on December 17th. While most of the state's top Democrats agree that possession shouldn't merit criminal penalties, nobody has ever, including yours truly, spoken about legalizing marijuana, recreational marijuana, for kids. That's never been in the cards, Murphy said earlier this month. State Senator Nicholas Scutari, the legalization bill's top sponsor, said in a radio interview last week that the governor has a point. But the question is, what are the right amount and what are the right penalties for people that are found in possession of marijuana? And that's the sticking point, really. Yes. We've already argued all this stuff over and over and over again. I mean, that's the frustrating part of all this. Is that there are states that have better programs than these guys are talking about, more successful programs than what these guys are talking about in place, yet they're afraid to do it. Oh, that's Colorado. It's not right for us. Oh, that's a state next to us. It's not right for us. It just doesn't make any sense. And these are the instances where people, everyday people like me and you, show up to these hearings and, you know, scream at these people. Not scream. Might get thrown out if you scream. But saying, hey, look, this has already been done before. Why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? It's silly. This is a joke. Let's copy what's been done before, successful, proven, and roll that out. But I don't know. It's a foreign idea to some of these people. So, all right, that's going to do it for me today. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us on the JDR. If you're listening to us on YouTube, thank you for hanging out with us on YouTube. We'll be back again probably tomorrow. I'm John Doe. You're excellent. That just kind of floated out yesterday too. I may not stick with that. That's just too cheesy. See ya.